Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is Mark from Mark Reads Good, and today we're going to be doing a book review of Djèlì's Ring Shout. Look how pretty this book cover is. Really cool imagery, invokes a lot of emotions, I'm sure. And that's actually why this book stood out to me. I was like, what the heck is going on? If you look close enough, you can see here that in the eyes of this Ku Klux Klan's hood, you have like demon teeth. That's going to be relevant as we kind of go into this story. Really excited to talk about this one. I have some pretty strong thoughts on how this will almost certainly be opted for a movie or a TV show in the future. Stick around till the end and I'll explain why I think that's the case. Ring Shout starts in 1915, in which a filmmaker and dark sorcerer releases a movie, Birth of a Nation. This movie swells race divide and hatred even more so in the US and fuels the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. This ever-festering hate also produces these interdimensional demons, Ku Kluxes, that join the ranks of the Klan and feed off of the hatred that the Klan is kind of creating. Our story picks up in 1922 following Black resistance fighters Marseille, Chef, and Sadie as they are kind of fighting back against these demonic Ku Klux members. They're basically demon hunters, and they just hunt out these Ku Kluxes and kill them and move to the next town and try to liberate that town. Each of the three characters wields an entirely different style of weapon. In Sadie, you have a marksman who wields her gun, Winnie, and she's just an adept shot, hits everything that she shoots at. And then you have Chef, who is really the ordnance and explosives person, a part of the team, and her whole objective is to like plant bombs and destroy these demons as they come. And then you have Marseille. Marseille's weapon is really interesting. So Marseille's weapon is derived from a family trauma in which her family was slaughtered and hung by Ku Klux Klan members, and it created this vengeance and grief that was so deep and so profound inside of her that these interdimensional beings came to her. She refers to them as her aunties. They came to her and they gave her this sword as a means to try to fill the void that was created by the loss of her family. And whenever Marseille uses this sword in fighting, she hears this hum of 1,000, or it's a million. I think it says a million dead ancestors and slaves that are all basically screaming for bloody vengeance. And so she hears this rhythmic scream as she's fighting, and that's kind of the beat that she's fighting to. It's a really cool image, kind of like horrific, obviously, but really, really insightful imagery there into kind of what this story is about. Marseille and her resistance fighters on the way back to headquarters after doing a patrol are starting to see these posters that are advertising a new showing of a special director's cut of Birth of a Nation to be shown at Stone Mountain. For Marseille and her resistance fighters, they think that what this is actually going to be is another conjuring of sorts, another ritualistic conjuring of sorts that will bring about even more evil and so even more hatred in an already hate-filled society. That night, when Marseille is sleeping, she is reliving the trauma of seeing her family slaughtered and lynched in front of her in a nightmare in which the villain of this story, this man who is a human sorcerer and also a clan leader, Butcher Clyde, comes to Marseille in a dream and offers her the ability to exact absolute vengeance on all white supremacists in trade for the utilization of the power that she and her sword harness to call forth this grand cyclops that will bring about the apocalypse. Essentially, his pitch to her is like, look, the world is already evil. It's filled with evil, hateful people. Let's just kill them all and start a new world and a new image, and you can take your place at the top of the hierarchy in this new world order, so to speak. Butcher Clyde lets Marseille know that all of this will be taking place at this special Stone Mountain viewing of Birth of a Nation, and then all she has to do is show up and they can start the process. Because Marseille is so overwhelmed with this want for vengeance because of the killing of her family, and because she utilizes a sword that quite literally feeds on her trauma and wants as much bloody vengeance as it possibly can get. This is actually a tempting offer for Marseille. And so she goes to her aunties in this interdimensional realm and tells them of Butcher Clyde's offer. And it's here that the aunties remind Marseille, hey, look, you don't need to do this. The sword can also be a source of good, and it can be a tool of righteous justice. And you should be very careful about exacting this much revenge on a population of humans, because you are likely to become the thing that you are hunting right now, an absolute monster. Marseille travels to Stone Mountain on the night of this big showing of this movie that acts as a spell to enact even more hatred and bring about this grand cyclops that's going to bring about the apocalypse. And instead of aligning to Butcher Clyde, she decides that what she's going to do is utilize the power within her and her sword to fight for racial justice and communal protection. And so she uses that sword for a source of good, and the sword as a result becomes this like blinding white light, and she hacks Butcher Clyde to pieces, and then the sword begins to hum in unison with members of the resistance group that are humming a ring shout. It's kind of like an ancestral hum that they're using, and it conjures even more magic. And so the magic and power from this ring shout that the members of the resistance group are chanting, along with the power of the sword, is basically this overwhelming force that they use to shut down Butcher Clyde's plan. They kill Butcher Clyde and kill all the demons present, and they see that all these like white supremacists that are just humans kind of come out of a trance. And the story concludes with Marseille and Chef and Sadie deciding to go to the next town and be ready for even more communal protection with their newfound hope that they can enact righteous justice on those who mean other people harm. Okay, so some thoughts that I had about this book. The overall length of the book is about 174 pages, which is not very long. It's really just a novella at that point. And for me, there is a lot being crammed into this story that just felt pretty rushed. In terms of character development, there's really not too much, because 174 pages doesn't really allow for you to build upon these like characters that, in my opinion, probably required a little bit more fleshing out. There's a ton of factoids that are just crammed into this book. The author, P. Djèlì Clark, he is a college professor in history. As a result of that, he's able to just cram all these factoids and kind of show all these events that happen in the Black history of America. And well, I found them deeply fascinating, and it actually made me go look up some events because I had no idea that some of these events happened. It just detracted from the story a little bit in my mind. Like, since it's only 174 pages, you only have so much time to develop and build a story. And yeah, just putting these factoids in, well, I found them interesting, just took away page time from more character development, more magic system development, more understanding of the aunties and where they come from, or how Chef, Sadie, and Marseille met, and more elements about their relationships, because everything in terms of like character development felt pretty shallow. Overall, though, I will say this was a fun read. Like, at face value, a really fun read, a really quick hit. Like, you could probably finish this in 4 hours of reading time. I'm a slow reader, and I think I finished this in about 4 hours. And I really liked it. I thought it was good. There was just these like few critiques I had. And these critiques are actually why I think almost 100% that this will be adapted into a TV show of sorts. Because while you might not have the most robust novel, what you are left with is a really great scaffolding for a very interesting story. And I think that a writer's room would do really well in kind of developing these characters more and showing motivation a little bit better than what P. Djèlì Clark could do in 174 pages. I don't know if you've read this book before and you have some strong feelings one way or the other. For sure, let me know in the comments. These are just kind of my subjective opinions, and so yeah, open to like discourse and maybe being proven wrong, so to speak. Until next time, this has been Mark from Mark Reads Good. I love you. I will miss you. You take care.